as a singular planet. In fact, it is anything but. For this is a story not of a universe,
but a multiverse.
Where universes and planets, such as Earth, were replicated and mirrored across a vibrating, infinite plane. Some barely different from the next.
Others drastically so.
This is DC On Screen. Every week, Dave and Jason talk about the multiverse of DC properties on film and television. But be warned, if it's been officially released, you can expect they'll spoil it.
Welcome into DC On Screen. I am your host, David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
And this is our review. We're going to call this the mid-season review. The mid-season premiere of Lucifer, which is Lucifer Season 3, Episode 10, City of Angels.
That is using...
or is it Episode 11?
I think it was 10, but I'll look it up. But in any case, that is every term you could have thought of being used very, very, very loosely.
Yeah, which apparently is off again for 3 more weeks.
That sounds right. That sounds incredible.
People on TV Time were freaking out. It was pretty funny. I was like, yay, 3 more weeks!
Yeah, well, the problem was they actually didn't say that. They said, I mean, even as of a couple weeks ago, I was like, we're going to do a couple episodes. No, they didn't. They just, I don't know what they had going on Fox that night that they felt could compete with national championship-related football, but they were like, no, we're just going to throw this out there. So they tried.
It was a very throwaway episode of Lucifer.
It was. By the way, it was 311. And,
311, okay.
Yeah, right now it's listed as episode 312, High School Poppycock, not until January 22nd. So, yeah, good lord. I really kind of wanted to just record this episode and be like, all right, this is the review of this episode of Lucifer that's... You know what? Tell you what. We decided we were just going to do premieres and finales, and this is neither. So if you want an actual review, give us a real episode and just end it. Just throw on the outro music.
Yeah. Well,
instead we got this flashback thing that could fit in anywhere, I guess.
I'm not going to lie and say it was not enjoyable.
No, it's not the point. The point is that with our premise, it was like, well, let's come back to the season. And instead of let's come back to the season, we got here's the thing we could have shown you anytime. Like, I feel like we should just skip this episode and gone and waited until the 22nd. But we've done it now, and we're not going back for that. So you're going to have to wait until May to hear us talk about Lucifer again, if, for God's sake, you actually want to hear us bitch about it.
Yeah, that's right. But, I don't know. I'm almost happier that we did this. I mean, Amina Diol was fantastic in this episode.
Of course. He always is.
And, where can I find this Mr. O'Lantern?
Yeah. I enjoyed everything about that.
Oh my gosh, just, can you what's the value of the necklace? Well, it's hard to say. It's not of this earth, so there's that.
Wait, what does he end up calling it? Something invaluable? I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that. And she's like, yeah, so I'm going to mark that down as about $40.
Right. Yeah, that was great. That was pretty great. Actually, the thing that made me laugh the most was, the ridiculous montage music that's become such cliche montage music in like the American mind that I'm pretty sure they used in an episode of South Park to make fun of montages. And yeah, a lot of the looks on Amenadel's face as he's like trying to pretend to strain in a gym, which is, by the way, extremely believable for a man of his build to be looking at a piece of gym equipment and trying to pretend this is a problem. Yes, that made me laugh a lot. Basically, that entire scene made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, the chicken made me laugh.
The part where he tries to freeze it? No cheating, brother.
Yeah.
There really was some
loved
interesting stuff. I hate to gripe about it as much. It's just that, like, you don't call this a premiere and give me this. That's the main gripe, and then after that, I feel like it's like, okay, let me put that in a pocket, and we'll talk about how it was still kind of an okay episode.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, you know, I kind of enjoyed flashing back to see those two. I didn't care about Chloe's crap at all. I didn't care about Dan. I didn't care about the origin of Taco Tuesday.
I mean, I caught it, but it's Taco Tuesday. Who cares? Whatever. I don't remember. Okay. That was okay. It was nice to see she has an origin. Actually, if anything, it was nice to see Charlotte kind of before.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
And I'll tell you something that struck me, and this sounds crazy, but did you see the paintings in the background of her office?
Yeah, they were apples, right?
Pomegranates.
Oh, pomegranates. Okay.
Which is traditionally associated with gods. I don't know if they're Greek or Roman. I don't know or care enough about that. Someone please tell me if you want to. But it has an association to mythological gods. And it's also lined up as the 1, 2, 3 of kind of a slot machine.
Uh-huh.
And it's one full pomegranate, and then half a pomegranate that hasn't quite made it up the slider, which means you didn't win. So I kind of wondered if that's like this, metaphorical painting in the background that's basically like almost a god.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Possibly a thing I actually picked up on. Possibly a thing I got bored and invented. If you ask me to take odds on those, I don't know.
Analyzing the missing scene.
I don't know if that's real or not, but still. Now what I did like.
Oh, I'm sure it is, yeah.
I hope it is. But what I really loved was the look on Lucifer's face. And to give the show credit, where we don't always give it credit, there is like a moment in almost every episode where I want to say, the look on Tom Ellis's face during this scene. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
He's a good actor. It's never been his fault that we've been bored with the show at times.
Oh, no. If someone asked me, hey, man, what do you want to do with Tom Ellis? The first thing I wouldn't even think about it. I'd say the Joker.
Actually, I might just say Lucifer. I'd just say, let me do it differently.
Yeah. No, I'm good with the Joker. Like, I don't cancel Lucifer, do Joker.
I think you can do a good one. But the look on his face when, like, Amenadiel so flippantly refers to him as evil.
Uh-huh.
And he gets so offended by the concept. And like it is a great story arc. And by the way, if you had put this episode where I think it was supposed to be, which is like just after or before the episode where Amenadiel's necklace becomes a huge deal.
Uh-huh.
It probably would have been, kind of a waste of our time in moving the story forward, but at the time, maybe a really neat look back at, hey, what are the things that are important to these people? And like you do get some really cool things. Like Amenadiel's necklace is so important to him that he makes a blank check deal with his brother.
Uh-huh.
That would have been cool around that time. The blank check deal with his brother is leave me alone. Oh, I know God's going to be mad. Tell him to come to me and complain if he wants to. Also a cool scene. And then like May's standing behind Lucifer with the demon blades and ripping off, and like you can see the anguish on her face as she's cutting off his blade, like his wings.
Yeah, that was solid.
That was solid. I that was all. Like if you'd put this, I think in the context of last season, would have been a much more powerful episode. But by itself, still really cool moments.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I loved May's kind of like being amazed at the possibility of, there are so many different ways I can torture up here because I don't just have to use guilt. Which, again, going back to the end of last season, going back to like what we see now is like a nice tie-in about how like it's the guilt that keeps you there, like all that stuff with the what we're in agreement. I think is the best episode ever of Lucifer, right?
Yeah.
Like going back to like the guilt there, that would have been so nice to see how like all you could use is guilt in hell, and then to see that pay off in this recent episode would have been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the writer's room, that's maybe how that happened. Like they focused on like how you can only use guilt here, and then like maybe that developed out of it. I don't know, but it tied in nicely.
It did. It did. There was a lot to like about this episode.
There is.
My favorite line is when Lucy and Amenadiel are fighting in the ring, and he says, "See, you're just as bad as me, brother. Pride is your sin too."
Yeah. And for a second, Amenadiel was super pissed about it. That was solid. What did he say? Like something about like that only applies to the City of Angels, and I'm no longer one. I liked that one wherever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did write this one down. For the scene later, like Father will be furious, and you will suffer his wrath. Well, he knows where to find me.
Right.
Oh, and one of the other nice parts is like Chloe's standing next to Lucifer, and he just kind of, you can just see him sense that there's something about this.
Yeah, people were putting up the scene from the first episode on TV Time where he kept telling her on the pilot, "Don't I know you from somewhere?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're putting that up next to this episode where he obviously saw her for a second.
See, I'm not sure he saw it for a second so much as this is also the episode where we see him turn on Hot Tub High School or whatever the name of that movie is. And have to, like, use a pillow to talk to his brother for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the line is still just in reference to boners, but whatever.
Yeah.
My favorite quote. My favorite quote, and it's because they keep doing this, and I love it. Okay. Something about in hell, the music they played, some chap named Bieber. Gosh, you should have heard the screams.
Yeah, I didn't laugh at that.
I did. I keep enjoying their elitist musical philosophies because I'm a bastard.
Well, I didn't like it because it sort of nullified the idea of the guilt is what they use for torture.
It did a little bit, but I don't know. I can kind of justify it as, like, there's a version of light torture where you're just playing music.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I don't like about the guilt aspect of hell, is that what do they need a torturer like Maze for? I mean, she's like a master of all these different, like, weapons and torture devices, but if they're just using guilt, shouldn't she just be like a master manipulator, like someone who likes to play a lot of mind games? Yeah,
but I figure she is. Where
I don't see that as her really at all.
I like.
She's very straightforward, almost like.
That is a frustrating part, but I like
Draxian.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. It's a pretty good reference actually. So I do. Like, I understand how that's a problem. I also just like thinking of her as someone who just kind of walks into a room with a new soul and just says, oh, this is what he's guilty of. Just replay this scene and moves on. And then I like to think, though, that there's, like, moments where she sees a chance with somebody where, like, she can go in and kind of physically harm that person, but find a way to make it their fault that she's doing this to them. Mm-hmm. Like, absolutely gaslight that fucker, you know?
Yeah.
And I actually see that as something she's incredibly capable of, because I understand the Draxian reference, but I think, like, in normal social circumstances, she's Drax. But when it comes to extraction and torture, she is somehow the most nimble of creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's got this little niche, you know?
No, show is what it is.
Yeah. I guess that's how I explain it to myself. Make of it what you will.
Hey, we got a headcanon it the way we got a headcanon it, you know?
Whatever. Hey, you know what they should do is give more, we should do more, like, flashback bottle episodes to explain everything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put them in at weird times so it feels like a mid-season premiere when it's really not. You like this plan?
Uh-huh. Sure. Whatever gets the show canceled quicker.
Come on. After watching Tom Welling die, you don't actually want it canceled right this second. Admit it. Part of you's curious. I understand. We have a lot of stuff that we have to watch.
I just want it to be a good show. And there are so many good shows.
I know.
And it has the potential to be a good show, but I'm not sure they're completely willing to do that somehow. Even by procedural standards, it's not a great show.
I still disagree with you there. By procedural standards, it's pretty great. It's just that normally we don't watch those kinds of shows.
I don't watch those shows at all. I hate those shows.
I've only forayed a couple times. And it's just not a very satisfactory way of watching things. Where, like, over the course of an entire season, there's maybe 2 hours of moving the story of that season. It takes too long for me.
Uh-huh. Like, nothing happens on the shows.
Yeah.
We're not fast enough anyway.
I know. It's a pacing issue. It's the same thing that keeps me from watching Game of Thrones. And I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but, like, come on. The scenes themselves...
I say nothing about Game of Thrones. I don't know it.
Yeah. I just, in the times I've tried it, it's just like the scenes themselves take so long and they're so pompous. It takes you forever to get through a scene when you know what's going to happen. And that doesn't build tension for me. That just bores me. So, like, for me, this is the inverse of Hitchcock. I'm just getting the absolute opposite effect. And then I'll have people come and tell me, like, oh my God, all this stuff went down. I'm like, it's great. How long did that really take to happen, though? Well, about 18 minutes. Yeah, that's right. How many episodes? That's most of a season. There you go.
Every time you crap on Game of Thrones, people start coming at me and saying, oh my God, why do you hate Game of Thrones? You should watch it. And I'm like, I didn't even say it to begin with.
I know. And I would say,
So.
come on, let's continue the dialogue. But honestly, I'm not going to watch it and actually have a dialogue. It's not going to happen. And that isn't. I'm not even trying to be like willfully ignorant here. It's just that I'm not willfully ignorant. I know all of the twists and turns of that show because you cannot possibly avoid them. I know who's still alive. I know who's dead.
I somehow avoided them.
It's a hard thing.
I think it's
hard thing to go back and watch from the start. You know,
when I see their names, it looks like gibberish to me, and my brain rejects it.
For whatever reason, it has been explained to me in detail on several occasions what happens, so I just live with that.
Okay. Well,
what show are we talking about again?
We're talking about Lucifer.
Okay.
And as happens on Lucifer Reviews, we, God help us, wind up talking about a more interesting show.
Wandered into different places. Okay.
We even talk about shows, serialized television that we don't watch, rather than talk about Lucifer.
To explain why parts of Lucifer annoy us.
So,
well,
anyway.
All that to say, though, at the moment, and I mean this exact moment, short of this episode, which doesn't belong here, I have never actually been more excited about getting to the current plotline of Lucifer.
Right. This was an okay episode, though.
Yeah, by itself, it was good. I just would have, appreciated it where it was supposed to run a little more.
Right. All right. We are DC On Screen. You can find every episode at dconscreen.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. We are partners with TV Time, so you can find me and Jason over there on TV Time. Keep track of what we watch, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I guess we'll be coming back the following few days. Wednesday, maybe, with a news update or with stuff that's going on right now, current event conversation.
Somewhere next week.
Yep. So until then, guys, keep some DC on your screen.
Hold on.
What?
I found one more phrase. Ready? Or I found one more quote. I wouldn't sit on that couch. I left a lot of divinity over there.
And on that note, keep some DC on your screen.
Perfect.
Was from Dan Jurgens' The History of the DC Universe, Part 3 of 10, as featured in DC 52, Week 4. It was performed by me, David C. Robertson. Intro music by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Future Elevators, could be found on Spotify or future-elevators.com. Our introduction was performed by Effie Ophelders of the fantastic podcast Stealing the Remote, which lives on SoundCloud. It can also be found on iTunes and Stitcher. We are proudly in partnership with TV Time, the TV show calendar and social media site that lets you keep track of what you're watching, what your friends are watching, and where you all left off. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. Visit maladjusted.tv for more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, an improvised web series, vlogs, parodies, and more.